what compliance officers should be doing to protect themselves in these situations, because there are a lot of situations we're talking about where perhaps even the compliance officer has some culpability, but it is possible to look at these things as though the firm, the bank, the institution sort of throws them under the bus, and that senior managers do not actually, are not punished. And so what can they do to protect themselves? Should they think about resigning? When do they resign? When do they come and see you? And will you give them a cut rate?
For most people employed, your role is defined by your employer. Your role, most of the time, that's how most people spend most of their working life. The role is defined by your employer. MLROs have long since understood that actually they have a set of responsibilities that are conferred upon them directly by process of law that are independent of what their employer wants them to do or not to do. Their employer takes the decision to make them the MLRO, but actually there's then a whole lot of duties that fall to the MLRO that the employer can't just say, don't do that. Yeah. That is now, that which was exceptional, the MLRO and a few other positions, is now in many ways the new normal, not just for the head of compliance, but for heads of other functions, but definitely for the head of compliance. The first thing is to understand there is an irreducible, perhaps I should say, an inalienable core of the compliance officer role that arises from a set of duties directly to the regulator. The second point I want to make is a corollary of that, which is when an issue becomes an issue, therefore it cannot be discharged, one's responsibility cannot be discharged as a head of compliance, or indeed as a departmental head within compliance, sort of a number 2 or number 3 in compliance. One's responsibility cannot be discharged simply by informing senior management and then being overruled. I'll repeat that as a fundamental point. One's responsibility cannot be discharged simply by informing senior management and then being overruled. Nor even can it be discharged by the next step up, which is to inform the board, the risk committee of the board, the chairman of the board, the whole board, and then be overruled. There is a point at which, and that point it comes sooner in time now than it ever did before, point at which the discharge of that duty requires the direct, open and honest, proactive conversation with the regulator, even if the employer does not wish to take that to take place. And I think you will see enforcement actions on compliance officers for not fessing up early enough and for allowing their concerns to be overruled. The third thing, a change that happened several years ago, but many compliance areas have not really noticed. The advisory as opposed to the proactive monitoring role of compliance. And yes, compliance should be there to deal with difficult compliance issues that are brought to compliance, i.e. advising. But there is an expectation very clearly laid out in rules and guidance that the compliance function should be proactively forming a compliance view on everything that is important, whether the business or whether management wants them to form that view or not. And then making sure that that view is not overruled without it being raised with management, with the board, and if necessary with the regulator.